newspaper this morning, taking some of the inside stories, starting with stories on page 4, investments in Nigeria, all stories on page 4. And on page 5, we are ready for minimum wage review, and that's coming from the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC. It says promises to push for national minimum pension. That story is on page 5. Xenophobia, Falana urges Nigeria, Ghana to sue South Africa at African courts. And more news, e-invoicing, NRS issues deadline for compliance. Oil exploration, Ogoni dialogue best chance for lasting peace. And that's coming from Masop. Under development, hold governors, not federal government responsible. And that's coming from Eradiri. Federal government to issue second 729 billion naira bond to clear Genco's debts. Troops, Mopol, foil mass abduction attempt at FGGC, Borno. Education Ministry dismisses attack, says schools safe. Classes ongoing. 50 Malian soldiers killed in rebel jihadist attack. And that story is on page 9. We are considering arresting Netanyahu at Onga, and that's coming from New York Mayor. Interesting. More stories on page 16. Nigeria Data Protection Bill. Serap vows to sue Akpabio. Abbas. Orire rescue. Abiara urges improved welfare for security agents. Oshun governorship poll. Adeleke Oyebamji unites against violence. Police corps members help politicians rig elections, and that's coming from Deji Adeleke. Sanwo-Olu, Umaka Uobo, Isoko Ono Egube. Police corps member help politicians rig election, and the continuation of that story from Deji Adeleke. And moving on to more stories on page 25. Flood, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu activate emergency response plans. Allow Nigerians to vote freely, Anglican Church tells politicians. 2027, Ebonyi indigents endorse Tinubu Nwefuru for second term. Thugs attack YPP, APP secretariat in Imo, destroy billboards. And more political stories. Plateau Taraba superhighway will unlock north central economy, and that's coming from Mufwang. More on the back page where we have some sports stories. On page 31, we have Gala President, Osimhen greatest striker in Turkish history. World Cup final, halftime show. Madonna still show as she unites with football legends at stadium. World Cup final delayed after extravagant closing ceremony. And on the back page, we have Super Spain ruled the world, overwhelm Argentina. FIFA targets 200 million euro for sale of championship rings. And lastly, Osimhen's greatest striker in Turkish history. And that's all we have on in the Vanguard newspaper this morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break. And when we return, Florence will continue with the newspaper review. Stay with us.
Paced world, staying ahead demands peak performance from our bodies.
Like never before, our bodies need an optimum supply of essential nutrients, and Supermalt supports our daily nutritional needs.
Supermalt has 20 essential vitamins, minerals, and natural extracts for overall health and wellness. One Supermalt a day gives you energy and vitality, improves your mental performance, and supports your immunity.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
All right, welcome back. It's still AM120 on BCOS television. And we're taking you through the newspaper review this morning. I have with me the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page, trending story, Tinubu will beat Atiku, Southern Coalition, APC boast. Says president's votes can't be splintered in the South. Atiku Amechi ticket will unseat Tinubu Shetima. This is coming from ADC. Reps panel to consider Tinubu State Police Bill today. May present report during plenary tomorrow. And this is on page 27. How Oyetola APC members frustrated Adeleke from joining APC campaign organization. Troops foil attempted mass abduction in Borno. Rescue 46 students. Students killed during gunfire with terrorists. And this is on page 26. Why 79% of Nigerians remain poor despite reforms. And palliative says experts. Fresh concern over increasing political activities, inflation as economy enters H2. Election-related spend may worsen inflation pressures, distract governance, CPPE cautions. 95% of Nigeria's economic woes from the fiscal side, says experts. Concern over 207% surge in petrol imports amid local production. This is on page 6. Nigeria Revenue Service set July 31 deadline for taxpayers to adopt e-invoicing system. And we have this on page 5. Oyinkosola Badejo Okunsoya emerges NBA president, becomes second female president. And this is on page 25. On the health segment, we have century-old tuberculosis vaccine may cut insulin needs in type 1 diabetes, study shows. And reps flag off probe of PFTPC scandal. NLC seeks full probe. This is on page 22. And that's how much we have on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Now taking stories inside. On page 2, Atiku Amechi ticket will unseat Tinubu Shetima combination, says the ADC spokesperson. Oluyole APC primary crisis deepens as Bola Gade challenges Akonde Sadiq's candidacy in court. Tinubu will defeat Atiku Southern Coalition, says the APC spokesperson. Obi Kwakwanso not symbolic of South-North allegiance, he says. Says coalition can't splinter president's votes in the South. On page 3, we have 8 parties receive access codes as INEC opens portal for upload of Guba State Assembly candidates. PDP, Labour Party, assures of manpower to upload Guba House of Assembly candidates to INEC portal. Still on page 3, why I'm not challenging Oyebanji's re-election in court. This is coming from Oluyede. APC, NWC has exclusive power to certify candidates. Ijabi insists. Moving on from that, on page 4, we have Oshun 2027. How Oyetola APC members frustrated Adeleke from joining APC campaign organization. Says IGP must walk his talk on security. Serap to Akpabio Abbas. Withdraw social media shutdown bill or face legal action. Still on page 4, NUJ Nawaj B Zone urge each free Oshun governorship election. On page 5, fresh concern over increasing political activities, inflation as economy enters H2. ICANN restates collaboration with Oyo government on economic development. On page 6, we have concern over 207% surge in petrol imports amid local production, and this is on business and economy. Custom releases 7.61 billion naira to 9 PFAs for 4,237 retirees. TNC increases the Maturu transmission substation capacity to 180 megawatts with new transformer. Taking more stories inside of the paper this morning. On page 11, bridging gap between Nigeria University and AI literacy. This is on the opinion. Still on business, ensuring transparency in implementation of $3.5 billion World Bank backed up program for growth. On money markets, this is on page 13. CBN drains 59.3 trillion naira from system in cautionary bid to block election cash surge, says a report. On page 14, new tracker aimed at curbing diversion of BDC forex allocation to black market, says analyst. CBN to unveil virtual asset sandbox. NRS sets to release sector tax policy. Cardoso chairs new council. Banks' proposed old core rules may trigger fresh 1 trillion naira further capital raise, says RENCAP. On tax and taxation, on page 15, experts outlines steps for Nigerians to claim new tax exemption by 2026. The IRS engages stakeholders on review of telecommunication mast revenue. 3 states received highest VAT allocation in June, says FAAC. On energy, on page 16, LPG imports jumped by 1,400% to 1.5 KT in June. Forum backs Tinubu's power sector reforms, says decentralization way forward for Nigerians. On page 18, while 79% of Nigerians remain poor despite the reforms and palliative. On capital markets, CIF announced 789.8 million naira distribution as interest income hit 881.8 million naira. On page 20, NGX chairs 6 capital market insurance partnership to drive growth. More stories, tragic PR critical pillar to nation building and public trust, says experts. Most organizations not getting it right when it comes to branding, says Akibola. This is on page 21. On page 22, Lasir Professor Akane to deliver 4th Lateef Jakonde lecture on Thursday in Lagos. NLC seeks full probe of Presidential Foreign Investment Commission controversy. Century-old tuberculosis vaccine may cut insulin needs in type 1 diabetes. On page 23, Nigeria losing over 862 billion naira annually to proliferation of over 900 MDAs, says Oye, urges immediate implementation of Oronsaye reports, laments deduction of 658 billion naira by government agencies as cost of revenue collection in 6 months. Custom releases 7.61 billion naira to 9 PFAs for 4,237 retirees. On page 24, federal government partners NIMC to strengthen transparency, security in mining sector. Adeniro advises estate surveyors and valuers to embrace technology. Nigerians in Poland pledge support to new ambassador, seek stronger bilateral ties. On page 25, NBA gets new executive as Dejo Okusoya emerges 33rd president. Anambra celebrates literacy icon Chinua Achebe as Solido unveils monument. My wife and I never knew we would become Ogun's first family, Governor Abiodun. On page 26, troops foil attempted student abduction, rescue 46 in Borno. On page 27, Nigeria pushes ECOWAS, compact condemns South Africa attacks on Africa. Nigeria needs $5 billion to achieve self-sufficiency in sugar production. We'll go on a commercial break, and when we come back, the story continues.
Excuse me, ma. It's your 100% hair.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Since your landlord just increased rent, I saved for this one separately on money points.
Ma, you say you save on money points?
Yes.
This madam money points here. The array of hair dryer there is target savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is this savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
Why can't someone contribute Adaku to tea. Where she dey? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Adaku to save. You see money points account there. You no go open a savings account. Now Adaku you choose. I beg everybody inside this my salon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the money points hack now. Even you. What are you waiting for? Download the money points hack now. Adaku, wow, open money points account.
Money Point, made for your progress.
All right, welcome back. Still taking stories from the Nigerian Tribune. On page 27, Reps panel to consider Tinubu State Place Bill today. May present report during Tuesday plenary. Still on page 27, Senegal's president elected new ECOWAS chairman. On page 29, we have Reps commence probe of inclusion of controversial PEAC and PFIPC on Monday. Oshu APC candidate Oyebamiji unveils blueprints, promises enabling environment for businesses and investment. Atiku Peter Obi lacks northern grassroots support to defeat Tinubu in 2027, says Ganduje. APC chieftain Akitola declares support for APC candidates in Oyo. Now to the sports segment. Stick with Tonchel. Rooney tells England Messi drops retirement hint. And this is on page 30. Boniface net brace as Leverkusen trashed Bamberg 7-0. Stars Builders seal Greenpeg Engineering Partnership. And on the back page of the Nigerian Tribune, we have NSC backs Team Nigeria as Ajayi Nathaniel shine in London. That's as much as we can take on the Nigerian Tribune. We'll now go on a break and bring you the weather report. And when we are back, we'll be seated with our guest for the interview segment. Don't go anywhere.
staying with us. Yes, it's still AM120. This morning we will continue the conversation on the Orire abduction incident, of course, the rescue mission. But our focus this morning will be Governor Makinde's call for UN probe. And to do justice to this conversation this morning, we have a public affairs analyst in the studio with us, Honorable Talest Innocent. Honorable, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
It's good to have you. Let's take a brief introduction into what we have to look into this morning following the abduction and subsequent rescue of victims in Orire local government area of Oyo State. Governor Seyi Makinde has called on the United Nations to conduct an independent investigation into the incident. The request has generated mixed reactions, with some describing it as a move towards transparency and accountability, while others argue that Nigeria security agencies are capable of handling such investigations. Honorable, looking at all the conversations and, of course, everything that has generated from Governor Makinde's calling on the United Nations to probe the incident, the Orire abduction incident, what would you make of that call?
Well, good morning, Nigerians. It's a good call, if I will say. Reason not being far-fetched. If you look at Nigeria today, you have been from one theater to another one. Things happened, and at the end of the day, nobody hears the outcome or something. Since 2014, things have been happening. Kidnaps everywhere. We've not seen anyone. It's not that we don't have capable hands that can do this, but at least we act from what happened in the past. Since 2014, it has been kidnapping everywhere in the country. We've not seen a day some people are being persecuted. Or just tell us the outcome. Chibok girls the case are still unobserved. We don't even know who are the kidnappers. We don't even know anybody. All what we hear is that they will bring some people in, said they are Chibok girls, old women. So, governor calling for UN is a good thing, because we want to know what really happened. If we don't do that, nobody will still know what happened in Oyo State. And don't forget, if you look at it very closely, somebody, Mr. Fayoshe, have accused him of orchestrating this kidnap 2 days after the kidnap. So he's saying that he wants everybody to know what really played, what really happened. That's why he called an external body. Because if you leave it for Nigerians or our security here, they will do it, fine. But how long will it take?
And that's going to bring me to the next question. So if Governor Makinde is calling on the United Nations, does it mean theirs will be faster or more genuine than what our security operatives in Nigeria
because they will not be biased.
Find out?
They will not be biased. They will say what they see. So for him to call them, I think he want people to know what happened. Somebody have accused him already. If I've been accused of stealing or something, at the end of the day you find that thing. I want people to know what he played. He have been accused of orchestrating this particular kidnap. So now these guys are out. He wants people to know what he played. Who did? Who is behind this?
But when we look at Nigeria as a sovereign nation, are we supposed to? His intentions are, they are true, they are genuine. But are we supposed to reach out in situations like this to external body? Where does accountability end and begin for a sovereign nation?
On paper, we are a sovereign nation, but in practical, are we really sovereign? What do we do in this country?
You think we are not a sovereign nation?
What do we do? Just let us know. What can you say that this is one thing Nigeria is good at?
Okay, so let's look at it as a sovereign nation.
You don't produce anything.
Should we start talking about?
You don't depend on yourself. You depend on other countries to live. You import at little as toothpick. They don't normal just toothpick when we have a lot of bushes in town. So what are we really sovereign? Security, you are not even secured where you are now. Anything can happen here. Children went to school and they are kidnapped. And what is sovereign about Nigeria? That was on paper. But in practical, what are we doing? We import fuel that we can even produce in our country. We have the crude. We import cars we use. We can assemble them here. Before now, we have car depots in Nigeria that produce. But we kill all of them. We import engineers to fix our roads, drive our airplanes. So what are we suffering?
So will this actually strengthen the investigation, or it's just going to undermine us? Because they used to say, don't sell yourself outside. So is this actually going to work, or we are just, at the end of the day, just selling ourselves to the
coming
public?
to selling ourselves as people knows what is happening in Nigeria. We should stop pretending. People know. Americans have been here once. You forgot in 2014, and they left. The reason everybody knew. So there's nothing to hide anymore. We're in a global world that whatever that happens here, as I'm talking to you here now, somebody's watching it in London. Somebody is seeing it everywhere. So to me, there's no need hiding anything anymore. Let us open this. Let people know what is actually happening in Nigeria. But they kill people every day in this country. Every blessed day. In short, it has gotten to every 1 hour. People die. How can a governor on his own, a governor of Sheyi Makinde capacity, will now come to his own state, plan to kidnap schools, to do what? What will be his intention? And somebody somewhere in the public glare said he associated this act. For what?
Honorable, let's take it back to the issue of Chibok girls now. And this is also for the call of the United Nations. In 2014, United Nations intervened. But I'm not really sure. There was really no clear outcome of that intervention. In 2018, we saw the issue of the Dapchi abduction also in 2018. United Nations also intervened. There was also no clear results from that intervention. Now, what difference do you think that will make from this Oriri abduction?
To me, I want to tell you something. We know we've been facing a lot of problem in Nigeria since 2014 when APC took over the country. And if you look at the way things are moving now, there's no hope for now. Those things happened, and you know what they can do. These are the same people, the same old men, group of people that paid over 9 billion naira for somebody to deny what happened, that people are being killed, the Christians are being killed, the genocide happening in Nigeria. They can do any other thing. They can do anything. So you're not getting the result is obvious. That there's nothing they cannot borrow money and pay for to cover up things. So governor calling for UN is not a country. It's a group of countries. Even Nigeria belongs there. He wants help because he knows that if you keep quiet, nobody's going to answer. Nobody's going to review what happened in Orile.
But at the end of the day, Honorable, when United Nations intervene, or if United Nations eventually intervene and they send some foul play, now who takes up the prosecution issue?
Let them intervene first and tell us where the matters.
But what exactly are we expecting to find out?
We're expecting to know
what's the government really expecting to find out?
Who are involved in this matter? What really happened? How was this thing happen? Like the governor said, he declared to become his interest to run for presidency on the 14th. On the 15th, this thing happened. Around 4 o'clock on the 14th, 9 o'clock in the morning, this thing happened.
But that statement you just made, don't you think that this is a little bit implicating? Because who knew he was going to announce for his presidency at the time?
You see, you don't underrate people in charge of this country now.
Okay.
Starting from the presidency, you don't underrate them. They work day, night, every time they're working. You see, what you want to...
Are you also alleging that there is a foul play in the issue of the
abduction? If there's no foul play, why are they now concerned about calling UN to intervene? We've been calling them before. Remember they wrote a letter to UN when Chibok girls were kidnapped. They even went there. They went to London, they were displaying placards. America everywhere was boiling. Bring back our girls. So why are they now crying that somebody called for UN to help?
Does the governor have that right to call the United Nations?
If you have right to call UN, if the thing gets out of hand.
We've been talking about Nigeria being a sovereign nation, and that's what I'm saying.
Even you has right to call when your life is at stake. You have right to call. When you find out that the people around you, the security around you are not doing what they're supposed to do, you have right to call.
But does the Constitution back this up?
My sister, we're talking of life here. Sometimes there are some things that are bigger than Constitution. My life and your life are very, very important. They are killing us every day. Okay, now look at how a teacher that went to school, telling his family that I'm going home, my wife, I'm going home, my children, I'm going home. They said, bye, daddy. Buy some, maybe when you're coming, bring something for us. I've been slaughtered, videoed. No. You don't do things that way. It's only somebody that has a backup, a very serious backup, that will kill somebody, video it and post it. Who are the ones editing those films? Because those guys cannot even video, and they edited those things.
All
Who
right.
are those ones doing that?
Honorable, we'll come to that conversation after this commercial break. Please stay with us.
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here. You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vent's 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
Very much for staying with us. Still talking about security matters, especially Governor Makinde's call for United Nations probe into the incident, the Oriri abduction issue. Honorable Tallest Innocent is a public affairs analyst who has been giving us his own insight into that particular investigation call by Governor Makinde. Honorable, before we went on that break, we were talking about, the incidents with the abductors and the abductees and how they slain them, brought out the video, shared the video. We also, some of us saw that gruesome murder of the teacher, one of the teachers from one of the schools in Oriri. It was a very gory sight to behold. And I was asking, is it really Governor Makinde's call to call on the United Nations, or should it come from the federal government?
When the head is not working the way it's supposed to work, the body have to move. What I played is, we've seen many cases like this. Just to think, what will become of those kids in their life? What are they going to turn to? What would they be reasoning? What would they be saying? The trauma. And nobody is saying anything. Lucky enough, the governor took his stand, that he wants to know what really happened. Don't forget, this thing did not happen the same time at Madigri that same day. And those ones, they are nowhere. Nobody heard anything about them up to today. So to me, I think calling UNA is the best thing for him to do. First is they have been accused. Secondly, this is his state. He is the governor of the state. He wants to know what happened in his state. Because he doesn't, maybe...
Are you implying that he doesn't know what is happening in your state in terms of security, architecture?
We are talking of that Orire adoption. The governor did not know anything about that. He wants to know. He wants to know what really played. Every one of us wants to know. Including you here, wants to know.
Well, we've seen reports as to what went down, whether it was falsified or whatever. We've seen results. So, with the speculations with the public that something is going on, maybe it was staged, it was planned, some people planned it together, and him coming out to say something actually is not clear. Is this not confirming what is in the eyes of the public or what is in the mouth of people?
Sorry, the whole report you've seen, which one really dealt with the situation?
We heard that it's from
can you in 2 minutes now tell us what really happened in Oriri?
Well,
you don't know. They just tell us whatever they wanted to tell us. Whatever they want to tell us, what they are telling us.
But this is the government. It's the government that's telling us whatever they want to tell us.
Before the governor could make that call, he's the governor of the state. And don't underrate his intelligence. Before he will make that call, there's something maybe he fails. So he wants to know the truth.
Honorable, but looking at the accounts of some of these abductees, we heard the principal of one of the schools giving an account. Looking at all they went through, are you still saying, or are you implying that it might not be real, it might not be true?
Don't forget that one of the adoptees, I think it was a teacher, the man, said they were released, not rescued. And look at...
But don't forget, let's also look at the release caught out there by the Nigerian army talking about using their family members as bait. So they had to threaten them with their family members, and they had to release those in captivity.
And
so
they were released into the hands of the soldiers.
And let's also look at the fact that their family members were traced in almost 10 states of the nation. They were taken up, and they used them as bait for the terrorists. Now, don't you think that is also enough reason for them to have been released?
Sorry, why do we wait until people are killed before we start tracing those families or those bandits? Why do we wait? We need to wait. At the essence of waiting, people are killed. Why are we waiting? If we really can fight this, if we can do this, do you think if Governor Makinde kept quiet, like in Bunu now, do you think this case will be out? Because he was fighting tooth and nail. You have been on ground since then, looking for these kids. That is why you will see what's happening. He has kept quiet like other governors used to do. Those kids will not be out today. They will still swept it. Maybe somebody somewhere will just go and pay that ransom. So to me, why do Nigeria have to wait until when people are killed before they start investigating or copying out these people? They know where they are. They even know their family. If you know their family, why don't you go back and pick all these people? Don't forget, these are the same people that will call for a meeting. Bandits will call Nigerian government for a meeting. Tell them what to wear coming to that meeting. Tell them that they cannot even video, pick or make calls at the meeting venue. Can you, sister, hold maybe just a jackknife here? Can you do that? But a bandit dressed up with full artillery of like somebody going to war, guns everywhere, AK-47 everywhere, bomb everywhere, to a meeting where you are having with government, Nigerian government, and nothing happened. Who is deciding who?
Honorable, let's look at the reaction from the presidency just immediately after the governor made the call to the United Nations. The presidency, through the presidential spokesperson Bayo Onanuga, rejected the proposal as unnecessary, insisting that Nigerian security agencies had already accounted for the rescue operation. Now, do you really think it was a transparent and fair account of that rescue situation we got?
Well, Onanuga have been saying a lot of things lately. And I have not seen anything good coming out of his words. So we can still go ahead and say whatever we want to say.
But based on the account we saw, based on the release and all that transpired we saw videos, we've heard from the abductees themselves, you would think it was a fair and transparent account we got?
I don't think so.
What do you think? What do you think it was left out? What do you think we should have gotten?
Let me tell you something. Kudos to the Nigerian army for the late intervention and releasing of those kids. But the gospel truth is this: whatever the Onanuga or the federal government is telling us on this particular really is not what we wanted to hear. We want to know who are behind this. Who are those kidnappers? What is their fine or their punishment for doing this? Because I believe their punishment is nothing less than death by hanging or firing squad. We want to see that. Let them be an example to others. That if you do this, you can be killed in a public lair. Let us see the end of this.
3 people were arraigned yesterday from these incidents. So three of the terrorists.
Nigeria
3 of the 8 people that have been arrested.
We have beginning. We don't have ending. We've just heard that 3 people were arraigned. Maybe the game will finish there. We will not hear the rest of the news. We want to know what really happened. Let us know, when you apprehend these people, what did you do to them? How do we end that matter? And that is exactly what governor wants to know. Who did and how did this thing come to play? And what will become their punishment when it happens? Who sent them? If there's any.
All of this is unearthing a lot of things.
My sister, those ammunition those guys are carrying, me and you cannot buy it. We can't. So there's something where they're not telling us. We want to know these people. We want to know what really happened.
The governor said something. He said, examine the facts surrounding the abduction and the circumstances of its resolution. Now, that circumstances of its resolution, it's it has a lot of interpretation to it. But we are of the opinion that the armed forces, the police, everybody came together to, to facilitate and bring back these children. But when it says circumstances of its resolution, what does this mean? This is unearthing a lot of stuff.
Exactly what we wanted to know. Because if you look at that scenario, it's confusing.
How so?
People were kidnapped here, adopted here, the same time as Medugri. Oyo State governor stood his ground that this can never happen in his state. He started pushing. And at the end of the day, the kids were released. Sorry. How did the bandits now give up? Why did our army now, our soldiers now took an extra step to go and arrest the families of those kidnappers? Why didn't do this thing since 2014? This thing started happening. Just look at that. Why is it because this man stood his ground that no, this thing can never happen in Oyo State, and he will keep quiet? He did not keep quiet. Don't forget, it wasn't an only army. Other people have tried to rescue those kids, even Amateko cops. And at the end of the day, God used whoever he used to bring those kids back. So he called the UN because he wanted everybody, the nation to know what they played. It's not that our security architects cannot do that. They can. But that might not happen in the next 50 years.
Honorable, I asked you a question earlier. Let's assume United Nations accepts this call to investigate the issue that happened in Oriri. Number one, what are we expecting? Nigerians, I know we have our speculations already, but what are those things we're expecting to actually, we're expecting United Nations to unravel? Secondly, when they eventually do, what measures do we expect them to take against the perpetrators of this incident?
Like I've answered this question, let me go back again. We want to know what really happened. Somebody was accused 2 days in after the kidnap. Somebody was accused. A name was about to be deformed by somebody. Maybe a spokesperson or whatever. Mr. Yofayoshi. So if you are him, you will do same. You want to clear a name. You want people to know what really. If Makinde was the one behind this, let the world know. If he's not, let the world still know who did. That was what we are expecting. We know, even if you and come here today, unravel the situation, tell us who are involved, the list might not even be broadcast. Because we have seen a lot of lists of sponsors for their sponsors, kidnap sponsors, bandit sponsors, Boko Haram. We've heard. We didn't see them. We didn't see any punishment on them.
Why is that so?
No account was frozen. No passport was seized. Nothing. They are still moving as free as air. So to me, let us know what happened. We leave the rest of the God.
Honorable, just like you said, what you said now, we've heard over time. We've heard names published. There was a time, I think the United Arab Emirates published names. The United States also came out at some point. In fact, that's the recent one we've seen so far. And even the Nigerian government itself has published names some months ago of financiers of terrorists. But so far, we have not heard anything. There's been no prosecution. There's been no arrests made. And apart from the names or the companies that have been listed that have been financiers, we've not really heard anything so far. Why is this the case? Why is this? Does it mean we pamper terrorism in Nigeria? Does it mean why do we? It feels like we are covering the financiers also. Why is that so?
The people is just simple. The people behind these things are maybe they are bigger than Nigeria. Maybe they are bigger than our constitution.
Can some people be bigger than a nation?
That is what is playing here. Somebody will wake up one day and tell you this is what he wants, and nobody will change.
Are there people who are above the law truly in Nigeria?
It's obvious. How can a single person on the first day on call to office say there's no more fuel subsidy without consulting the Senate, without consulting anybody, even the governors? At least it's supposed to have taken some time, sit with the Senate, sit with the governors, discuss this. But nothing happened. He just woke up and tell us this is what he wants.
Are you saying some of the policies of the president have been faulty?
See, there's something I want you to understand this morning. There are some people in this country that are bigger than the law. How can a single person tell us that he has forgiven bandits? People that killed, slaughtered people. You forgive them. You took them to school, waste our money.
But you know, this did not start from this administration. It was from the late Buhari's administration.
Why must we even have it at all?
It has been suspended right now. That particular program has been suspended. I think about 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay, now do you know, before our army will strike, information will get to the bandits? Who are doing that?
All right, Honorable, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back and we continue on that note. Please stay with us.
Excuse me, ma. This your 100% human hair.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Since your landlord just increased rent, I saved for this one separately on money points.
Ma, you say you save on money points?
Yes.
This madam money points here, the array of hair dryer there is target savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is this savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
What happened? Why did I don't contribute to you? Why should I? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Hadaku to save. You see money points accounts there. You know go open a savings account. Now Hadaku you choose. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the money points hack now. Even you. What are you waiting for? Download the money points hack now. Hadaku, go open money points account too.
Money Point, made for your progress.
Thank you very much for staying with us. We're still talking about security and all that went down during Orire incident, and of course analyzing of the Makinde's call for United Nations probe. As we begin to wind down, Honorable, we're talking about, before we went on that break, how some people are above the law in Nigeria, and of course that particular program of de-radicalization, reintegration of terrorists back into the society. And I pointed out to you that it did not start from this administration. It was a continuation from the past, a policy or a program from the past administration into this administration. But when we talk about these issues, and of course maybe pampering terrorists or not giving terrorists the real measure they deserve, where does this leave the common Nigerians in terms of security and safety?
It leads us to fear. We are all afraid. We don't even know the original army and the bandit army. That is just what they did now. Gone are the days when you see an army man on the road, you run to him and say, sorry, help me, there's something happening. You can't do that. Even when you see army now, you have to run. Because you don't even know who you are talking to. Whether it's part of them or not. How can you bring a killer? Someone that have been killing people before, that all his brain was just kill. Blood is running everywhere. People's blood is running on his head to come and defend you again. And there's some able men that applied for that same job. You failed them. You didn't take them. But you took those ones that have been killing people before. Where does that? How do we do that? Nobody has any right to forgive any bandit. You rather send them to where they are coming from. So it's only God that has right to whether to forgive them or do whatever he wants to do. Not you. You don't have such right. A killer must be killed. And I'll tell you, if they have done that, maybe in a national television, bring them out, kill them the way they have been killing people, others will be afraid. This thing will stop. But because you know the worst won't come to worst, they will take us to jail. After jail, they might take us to army, or they are doing it. It has turned to another thing in this country.
Let's look at the statement from one of the released victims, one of the teachers. He mentioned that while they were in captivity, or on the said day they actually regained their freedom, there was no issue at all. They were released, and they had to just chart. There was a path they had to take, to chart their way out of that particular environment or the Oyo National Park. Yes. What do you make of that statement?
That's exactly what we want to find out. Because it's not possible that bandits will just release those kids.
But could it also be that because they have their family members?
You have their family members, the real bandits will not succumb. The real ones will not succumb. You will not even know their family. So, okay, why do they have access to internet, even in the bush? Why do you not have access to that?
When you say the real ones, what do you mean the real ones? The real bandits?
When a bandit tells you that I'm collecting 1 million from you, if you fail, you know he has put his own life online. He's ready to die too. No matter whoever he will not listen to you. He has made up his mind that I want to die. So he will die.
So you're saying their family members was not the reason why they released these victims?
Didn't they know their children are doing that? How do we, by sudden now, just get to know their families and start picking them? How do we know? Why don't you do the same to Meduguri?
So what do you think played differently in this situation?
That's exactly what we want to find out from the UN. Because they will not be biased. They will tell us. And I pray that they come to do this. If they do this thing might come down.
If the United Nations eventually intervene, what does this have to say about the morale of our troops who have been working tirelessly to end insecurity in Nigeria?
This is not that they're coming in to take over Nigeria. Even on their way coming, they will still work with our troops. They won't just come in and do whatever. They will still work with them, get some file from them, get some document, and work on that document. And know what already played. They are not coming here to overrun anybody. They're just coming here to assist us to get the facts. And that is the call for. Whoever that is against this, the Senate have been doing everything they could to stop this. They have something they are not telling us. Okay, let us just come to this. Do you know that the Senate have donated 50 million naira to the people that died, the soldiers and the teachers?
Yes.
5 of them, 50 million naira. Are they the only ones that died on that process? There are still some.
So you're saying apart from the 8 people that have been mentioned, more people were casualties in that incident?
Yes, and now they focused on those 5, meaning that there's something they are not telling us.
Could it just not have meant that it was just to commiserate with the families?
It's not true. When we are seeking for something, we have one target. If you have another target, everybody that is involved is supposed to be compensated. Everybody involved.
All right. Honorable Thomas Innocent is a public affairs analyst, and he's been talking to us about the OBB abductions, Governor Makinde's call for United Nations probe. It's been, I would say, a wonderful conversation, and of course, Honorable doesn't really think it was truly what went down in terms of the statement from the federal government and, of course, the Nigerian Army. But, of course, we will see what happens at the time from Governor Makinde's call to the United Nations. Honorable, thank you so much for your input.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back with our second guest after this break. Please stay with us.
AM120 on BCOS television and continuing the conversation of Makinde's call for UN probe. We have with us Professor Soji Adejumo. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
It's my pleasure to be here always.
So, Governor Makinde says that the situation is not about finding blame, apportioning blame, but about finding the truth. And then the Senate has also said that it's a domestic matter and the Nigerian Institute should handle it. Are these two opposition really conflicting? Can we have a situation whereby we call on the United Nations and then the sovereignty of Nigeria is still put in place? Is this a conflicting idea?
Thank you. In the first instance, we need to be very happy at any rate that we have achieved a partial success and Nigerians are relieved, even though the event is on a very sad tone because there are loss of lives. And wherever there are loss of lives, no matter what, even in the spirit of celebration, Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving, we still have to, remember those whose lives were cut short, especially those who were murdered by these terrorists. But I need to get your statements right. Did Governor Makinde describe the situation as a domestic affair?
No. It's the Senate that's saying it's a domestic affair and
the
settle it
The Senate
internally.
came out to talk about it. The presidency has also said he should not have called the United Nations. We are a sovereign nation.
Yes, you see, both sides have an obligation to defend their positions. And Governor Makinde will not also voluntarily, say that he is on the right track, wrong track. And the federal government will not, willingly, intentionally now blame itself. So there cannot be a blame game that is going to be valid or justified. But I have a different opinion entirely.
Okay.
It's a domestic affair. It's a domestic affair. The incident happened right on our soil here in Oyo State. The suspected perpetrators have been traced to certain parts of Nigeria. There's been no record that they were traced to Mali or Niger.
They are not foreigners.
Yes, not foreigners. Even they were foreigners, but they perpetrated, the planning and everything was done right on our soil. Therefore, there is justification for Governor Makinde to believe that there should be an independent investigation. That's justification. Because all the facts might not have been open to him. Because we know the security architecture of this country, and governors have their limitations and challenges. In spite of all the humongous security votes we talk about, there is a limit to how you can now deploy human resources. You can deploy money, but no governor has the power to say, let me deploy soldiers, let me deploy policemen. Maybe you can deploy your local security outfit like Amotekun or whatever you have. So if he believes, and in a way you look at the situation, you will know that some things just don't add up. You will know that. And I too find it difficult to join the dots. Logically, I find it difficult because I tried to monitor the interviews of some of the survivors, and you cannot really track a logical trail. We really don't know how exactly they were liberated. We don't know what happened to those who were rescued. I've not seen pictures of those who were killed, whether they are remains or whatever. And at the same time, we still don't even have correct statements from the victims that were rescued. So the whole thing.
The principal has given a statement.
I've read that statement, but it really doesn't answer some questions.
What are those questions?
Yes. You see, let's look at it this way. Federal government has charged 3 people to court over this abduction. None of the charges included murder. None of the charges included murder, and somebody was beheaded. Because they were not actually on the ground where it was perpetrated, they were arrested in Suleja. So they are being charged to court on counts of terrorism, concealing information, illegal mining. But and conspiracy, if you are involved in conspiracy to a crime that resulted in murder, then they are accessories to murder. So I expect accessories to murder to be part of those counts. That is not there. So that is fishy. I'm not talking politically, and I'm talking about somebody who is looking at it. And now, when you look at those counts, the counts also allege that the offenses were incurred within the jurisdiction of that honorable court in Abuja. And they are right. Because those people are arrested in Suleja, Niger State, Abuja is also part of the land that was carved out of Niger State. The people that are arrested here, that crime happened within our soil. So we expect to see them arraigned in our courts here in Ibadan, at the Ibadan High Court. That has not been done. So that is fishy. We want to see these people in court with counts of murder.
All right.
Now, no, I'm not done yet.
Go ahead, Bob.
Now, secondly, if the event has ended this way, and the governor legally believes, or logically believes rather, that he wants public closure, he wants everybody to know, he too wants to know. We don't even know how much he knows. He has not revealed it. It is not by going to the United Nations. United Nations has nothing to do with this. When Obasanjo became president, he decided that he was going to put a closure on June 12, 1993. He set up the Oputa panel, which sat in Lagos. And all manners of international observers came. All manners of interest, civil, political, were represented. If United Nations wanted to come, nobody would stop them. But he would not invite United Nations. If CNN wanted to come and observe, if BBC wanted to come, if Arabic Channel wanted to come, he set it up as an open, independent judicial panel. So what stopped the governor from setting up an independent judicial panel right here in Ibadan? It is left now for organizations that want to observe. BBC can say we want to come. Al Jazeera can say, we are coming, this is interesting. The BCOS will have their correspondence there. All manners, civil societies, organizations will have, NGOs will come. It will sit in a public place. So those people who are victims will come. You will have people who will be there to take evidence. It's a judicial independent panel. And they will ask them, how did it happen on day one? Residents in the localities, they'll be invited. Other people will be invited. The traditional rulers in that area will be invited. Passers-by, people of interest, people of concern, they will come. They will speak. It may take a month, it may take 2 months, but it is within the confines and powers of the governor. Let him set up a panel here in Ibadan. Find maybe a retired judge. There are many retired judges that can sit on such panel. You can put it in Mako Hall or somewhere like that, and then it becomes a reference point. So it is left to whatever organization that wants to come. But he cannot call United Nations and say, no, come. He doesn't have that power to do that. But he has power to set up his own panel. And even if he says so, we even find that United Nations may decide. Human rights organizations may decide to come. Not directly United Nations, but there are human rights organizations affiliated to some organs of United Nations. They will come.
Prof, why does the governor not have the right to call on the United Nations? Is it because of our is it because our constitution does not allow it, or because we're a sovereign nation, like we have been said several times, and it's putting our affairs out there?
You see, anybody, even yourself, if you feel you are sufficiently aggrieved, you can write a petition to the United Nations. Yes. But I can assure you, it will go through governmental channels. United Nations sits with governments of every country there, and they have permanent representatives. And if your government blocks you, that is the end of it. You cannot force United Nations to override the sovereignty of any nation. You cannot. But when you have your own powers, within your own limits, exercise your powers. And if agencies now look beyond what you have, then they can now start putting pressure and say, yeah, we want more information. This is interesting. And you don't really need United Nations, like I said, for you to unravel what is happening. We have enough instruments on ground for you to, as a governor, to invoke.
What instruments are available?
Like I said, he can invoke his own judicial panel of inquiry. He can invoke it. He has the powers within your state. As the executive governor, he has the powers. So that's the first step for him. But you don't just jump up and say, United Nations. He doesn't have those powers, because if the report petition gets to the desk of the Secretary General of the United Nations, he will pass to the various agencies. Agencies will go through the channels. The channels of protocol or diplomacy are very clear. And it's not going to be easy, because you cannot override the sovereignty of your own country.
But what about the ambassador? The Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Jimoh Ibrahim, also argued that the UN does not ordinarily intervene in the domestic security affairs of sovereign states, and therefore faulted the governor's request. This was his position as Nigeria's envoy. Now, do you think the ambassador would have been in the right position to maybe put forward a petition of the governor to the United Nations?
Those are options.
And what role should he have played instead of just faulting the governor's investigation call?
You see, the governor went on air to invite, international inquiry. And as the permanent representative to the United Nations, definitely he will feel undermined. And I don't know how much experience he himself has in terms of United Nations policies. But the truth is that he has to protect his own position, his own seat. And like I said, the governor has options that are domestic, that are local to him. I felt if he wants to do that, he should start from, charity begins at home. He should start from his own, environment, use his own powers. If it has to be escalated, there are agencies that can take such, if they feel sufficiently, informed, and they believe that, there are things that are going on here. Because it is a different matter if people suddenly invade your state from outside Nigeria, maybe from Ghana or from Somalia, and we see them invading and killing people. We won't even wait for the governor to start, calling external agencies. But this is a case that is clearly local and domestic.
But why do we think the governor skipped all this process and went straight to call the United Nations?
Why do I think so?
Yes, why do you think like he skipped, talking to the permanent secretary, talking to the sovereign nation's head, and he just went straight to call on the United Nations?
Yes, I'm saying that, you see, in security matters, the government may be aware of certain information that we don't know ordinarily, and which he believes for some reasons he would rather have international organizations on ground before he reveals them. That may be his own thinking, but until he actually give the cogent, and exact reasons why he took that step. But as a layman that is not a state actor, and I'm not privy to some, I see that this abduction is actually shrouded in some levels of secrecy, that I find difficult to really, interrogate and understand. And I will welcome an independent, judicial inquiry. I will welcome it. But it has to be done from a local level. It's happened here. So let us do it here. And if at the end of the day, the same panel submits a report to the government and say, look, at this level, Mr. Governor, Mr. President, we want this issue investigated. We are going to escalate it internationally. That panel can do that. And they will adduce all the reasons, the facts, judicial, legal facts on the ground to say, we warrant this. We have not reached that level. So I believe the governor should just set up his own panel here. I am eager to find out exactly, because for 59 days or so,
56 days.
58.
56.
56 days. Till like day 54, we were in the dark. There were still threats. Day 55, people didn't know what was happening. Suddenly, we got released that they've been released. That is very, it's very sneaky.
All right, Prof, I know you talked about judicial inquiry already, recommending that the governor should set up a local judicial inquiry to investigate the issue of the Oriri abduction. But beyond that, do you think this also calls for the United Nations to independently carry out its own investigation? Let's date back to the issue of Chibok girls, the issue of Dapchi abduction, and other school abductions in Nigeria. And it feels like we are counting numbers. It feels like we are counting on the set date, May 15, when the Oriri incident happened. There was another issue of school abduction in Borno State. Over 40 children, including their teachers, were also abducted. Until date, they are still in captivity. It feels like we are talking so much about school abductions for the longest time in Nigeria, and there seems to be no end to this issue. Do you really think the United Nations should independently come into this matter to probe incidents like this in Nigeria?
Look, United Nations does not have a standing army.
Independently?
I know. United Nations don't have a standing army. United Nations don't have a navy. They don't have an air force to say, okay, now we are going to Nigeria to intervene. And they cannot just arrive in Nigeria and say, we are coming here to set up. Do you know how many global issues that are happening globally? There is piracy on the high seas. There is all manners of war crimes being perpetrated by all manners of governments and warring, factors. There are so many challenges that take certain rules to get to United Nations. You have never seen United Nations saying, oh, we are sending up a panel to go and probe the genocide in Sudan. The United Nations have now gone out to set up. The United Nations did not get up to even set up a panel to probe genocide in Rwanda. But it got to a stage where the government decided it is time for us to end this genocide. We will call international organizations to help us. Government of Nigeria has not, said, oh, we alone cannot unravel this. The only way we hear that they are getting a bit of external cooperation is maybe with the American government, coming in with some support facilities and all of that. But even that was at the level of the federal government. The state government cannot talk to another sovereign nation. It is not possible. So United Nations cannot just be summoned by a state government. There are established conventions for a sovereign nation to access certain facilities of the United Nations. But steps that can lead to that are within the purview of the governor. So he needs to start from his own, territory, using his own available resources. What we don't know that he knows, let the panel on the ground hear it. Let the public hear it. Let the people, really, maybe some of them know certain things that we don't know. We don't need United Nations to come for us to hear. So set up this panel. Find a credible retired judge, maybe from Oyo State, maybe from Ogun, maybe from Ekiti. A judge that is competent, and will be able to find the time and has the health to sit down and run through this. If it takes about a month or two, the actors will know that yes, there is a serious strategy on the ground to ensure that this kind of thing does not happen again. But just calling on the United Nations, as far as I'm concerned, is an exercise in futility. I'm sorry.
So, Prof, since it shouldn't have called the United Nations, what about ECOWAS? Because they were involved in the NSAS investigation also. And their one of their roles is to ensure security in West Africa. So how about reaching out to them?
You can reach out to ECOWAS. You can reach out by amplifying your conditions. Look, ECOWAS, some of these things happen from people that are migrating for your end, for all of that. But ECOWAS will not come here to intervene. ECOWAS will not come here to set up. ECOWAS can only come at the level.
Would you have had better luck with ECOWAS than is having with the UN?
No. You cannot initiate that. ECOWAS has its own structure. ECOWAS has a governing council. You can't bypass that. The current leadership in ECOWAS will have to look at what you have written. They will pass it to the governments that are even on ground. Let's have your story. It will become an agenda, an item on the agenda at an ECOWAS forum. And if they need to invite you to speak through it, you will be invited. But you cannot invite ECOWAS as a state. No state has the powers to do that. We need to be very clear about structure of international governance. If it was possible, many governors, many countries will have invited, even Iran will have invited United Nations to come and start a judicial inquiry on Trump. They will have invited United Nations to go and look at what is happening in Gaza. If part of the fact that they are there on every day, they are there, humanitarian services are there, they are complaining, they are saying, no, Israel, this is too much, this is that. ECOWAS, United Nations has not set up any panel of inquiry. In Gaza, they have not, because they cannot just be called. The Gaza authorities, Palestinian authorities cannot call United Nations and said, but they can call them and say, see what is happening to us. We are petitioning you, we are doing this. Oh, they can say, Israel, we condemn this. They can send some articles, and when they send the articles, you will find that when they send the articles to United Nations, countries with veto powers will veto it. And that is how it goes.
We've said so much about the responsibilities of the state government in this incident, and of course how the state government should own up, especially about the incidents of Orire and security issues as a whole, and also talked about the federal government interference now and the stance of the federal government, Nigeria being a sovereign nation. But we've said little about the legislature. What should be the role of the legislature in all of this issue, especially when it has to do with the issue of insecurity?
Let's look at this Old Oyo National Park. It started as an estate of the Old Oyo Empire. It's a Yoruba estate, Yoruba land estate. And at a point, the federal government felt, in good faith, this is real history, and it should be part of our national history, national archives. So let us curate all that is there, the Fulani invasion that saddled Oyo, and we turn it into a federal reserve. So it becomes part of the national assets. But it has become a big security risk. And I don't think the federal government has done anything in the last 20, 25 years to address the issue of security and all of that in that national park. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I was in government, and I think I was in government as director of DFRI. And I decided to go to this same national park to check farming activities and see if we could assist our farmers, because some farmers too farm there. Right in front of me, we were traveling, thank God we were not driving at speed. A massive gorilla jumped on that road. Massive, it would be like about 6 feet in height and very bulky. My driver almost had a heart attack on that wheel. And we were the only two. It was around 6 p.m. and it was even raining. If you are running to that gorilla, I'm sure we will have been crushed to pieces because within a national park. It shouldn't be. If you go to major national parks in Kenya, in a few places, you will see that government actually protects. There are national parks that you can't even throw litter. Now, there are national assets taken over by state governments elsewhere. We have the National Stadium, and I think Lagos State is trying to take it over. You have the Liberty Stadium. Our state government has taken it over. Sheyi Makinde has taken over Liberty Stadium. We have a few other national assets all over the country. Where state governments felt, look, federal government, we are not doing anything. We will take it over. I think what we can use our legislators to do is for the governor to start enacting moves and laws that will force Oyo State government to retrieve that park from the national government. That's the government needs to. If the governor knows how to get Liberty Stadium, if the governor knows how to secure concessions for some other assets, the governor knows how to practically take over the airport. If he knows how to turn Oyo State into a massive real estate economy, the governor should go further and find a way of taking over the national park. When you take over the national park, then you can invite international agencies to come and help you, support you, and ensure food security. As long as the national park remains in the control of the federal government, we are not yet secure. That is the truth.
And I think this should also bring us to the issue of state police we've been talking about for a while now, where we have the old Oyo National Park as big as some countries in Africa. We talk about how can it really be governed in terms of security. Who are those that can really man these areas? We talk about forest guards also, but are they really enough? Now, if we are calling on the states to take over these parks for the safety of people around these places, can the state really take full charge of this park in terms of security now, especially where we have people living within this park?
You are talking as if the national park is an entity on its own. National park borders 11 local governments. 11.
That's what I'm talking about, how huge it is, how big it is. Can the state actually take control of the park alone itself?
You see, the state will set up its own national park administration. Or the state will have to enact a law, Oyo State National Park Administration. That's for the. In fact, I think I should be paid for this advice. That should be Oyo State National Park Administration, legislated by law. The 11 local governments will now be part of that administration. The person that is campaigning for chairman knows the demarcation that falls in his own local government. He becomes the local chief security officer there. Look, so it's not going to be just the state government, from Ibadan, policing the national park. There will be 11 local governments policing the national park. And they will be charged with certain infrastructure that will ensure this is not a national park that go outside this country. You will see parks that are almost the size of half of Oyo State, and yet you don't see bandit, and yet Government monitors everything there that goes on. The amazing is there. There are so many, So this is not rocket science. This is something that has just awakened us to our resources, which we need to deploy for our own security.
All right, Prof, as we begin to wrap up, beyond the call for the United Nations probe now, what should be the immediate priority for government? In fact, coming from the federal level, what should be the immediate priority for the federal government, the state government, and of course, residents, Nigerian citizens generally, in terms of security?
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one, because the federal government rhetoric, they said 8 people arrested. Where are they? If they are charged to court today, tried within the next 1 month, if they are guilty, found guilty, sentenced to death, 1 month, executed, the terrorists will know that yes, there is a penalty for terrorism. But as long as